Colombo Chronicles Live. Colombo is on their trail. Listen up at Colombo Chronicles Live.
Yes, listen up, because today we have a fabulous guest. He is a returning guest, and he is an expert and an author and a researcher, and he's an expert on sociopaths and psychopaths. He's done extensive research, and it appears that they are drawn to positions of power, especially in government. The sociopaths and psychopaths appear to want to control people, but they do not want to be controlled. His name is Stefan Verstappen. You probably have heard of Stefan Verstappen, and you may have heard him on my former radio shows. Today, he's going to share his latest book that's in the works, The Complete Guide to Forming Communities. Now we're going to turn to our very special guest, who is an author, a researcher, philosopher, and he's writing a new book. It's called The Complete Guide to Forming Communities, and he's going to tell you why he's writing this book and why it's important to you and your family and your community. So let's get started, and let's say hello to Stefan Verstappen out in Canada. How's the weather out there in Canada? Stefan, how are you?
It's still winter. Summer's been predicted to occur on Friday. So we're looking forward to that Friday. But it's understandable with the, with the chemtrails. It's very heavy up here, and they want to keep it nice and cold. And so we're all forced to move to Mexico.
Well, then we can become illegals, and then we can come back and claim all the goodies or the freebies that all of these third world nations who are persons who are unidentified and say they're entitled because the liberals told them they're entitled. So now they believe they're entitled to citizenship in America. They're entitled to driver's license, voting rights, welfare, HUD, food stamps, Obamacare, you name it. They're entitled, and they're getting it. Well, the American citizens are struggling to put bread on their table, Stefan.
I'm sure the American citizens are grateful to be able to pay for all these people to come into their country and have all the services that they themselves are denied. I'm sure that wouldn't make anybody upset at all,
Especially, Stefan, since they're flying them around and scattering them in our cities. That makes us feel much more safe than before to know that they might be living next door.
It's part of their diabolical plot. And I listen to YouTubers from all over the world, and I've been particularly interested in some of them from Ireland. Poor Ireland, what they've done to Ireland. It's unbelievable. It's the same program that's been instituted in America, in Canada, in New Zealand, in Australia, Germany, France, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the same programming. And that is, and we got these Irish people on YouTube saying, I don't know Ireland anymore. There's no Irish people left. There's a small town where 300 Irish people live. They're, farmers, but most of their farms are now defunct because it's no longer economically viable. And they've suddenly put up 1,500 Somalians in the local motel.
Michigan's the same way. They're training up jihadists, believe it or not. They're recruiting them over in the United States of America. They have a whole state with no-go zones in our homeland where we're not allowed to go. And if we say anything like show Christian literature or say a prayer or talk to anyone about Christianity or Catholicism or the good old American way of life, my God, they're going to call the police on us because they're setting up their own police departments, too, in Michigan and New York City.
Yeah, that's a good idea. as if the police department isn't already corrupt enough as it is. We got to have special. It's just going to be gangs now, right? It's going to be the.
Well, I think the gangs are controlling the world.
The Hasidic PD gang.
It's not the gang of 8. It's the gang of probably 800.
Yeah. You see, I lived in China for a long time. The Chinese don't like police. They've always been suspicious of it, and the reason is, for the entire history of China, 4,000 years, police have been as corrupt as the gangs have been corrupt. As a matter of fact, a lot of Chinese join gangs as protection against the police. Look, this is you know, when you give people, and especially men, a tribe, and you give them guns, and you tell them you can do whatever you want, like, how long do you think it takes before this goes south? I mean, did we not see the Stanford prison experiment, you know, where they took college students and made them prison guards, and within 3 days they were already torturing and brutalizing prisoners because they just couldn't help themselves, you know. So imagine now the government is hiring all these young men, and half of them are on roids, you know, so they got the roid rage going, and, you know, they're shrinking testicles now, need to prove themselves, and you dress them up like Darth Vader, for Christ's sakes. They all got black outfits. They got tasers. They got pepper spray. They got batons. They got extendable batons. They got firearms. Oh, my God. I mean, it's like, yeah, I feel safe now. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Probable cause.
And then to give those powers to every minority group from all around the world, store owners aren't going to know who to pay anymore. Do I pay the mafia? Do I pay the triads? Do I pay the Boston police? You know.
Well, let's face it, Stefan. What do you think?
You know, let's disabuse ourselves of two notions. One, that the government does anything for the people. Government does nothing for the people, ever. Never did, never will. The government does everything for the psychopaths in control. And the second thing is, they don't care about you. It just infuriates me every time I see a politician, you know, stand up in front of a microphone and tell the country that they're going to save us. Oh, my God. Government doesn't save us.
Well, even God can't save us anymore, because just today Nancy Pelosi ordered the sign that says, I think it said "One Nation Under God" or "In God We Trust," something like that, removed. So even God's being removed from this country.
Nancy Pelosi would shrink and shrivel up and burst into flames if holy water was thrown on her, so I can understand.
So why don't you tell us what made you want to write this book and share it with the world?
I started this book, about 7-8 years ago, but I had it on the back burner for a couple of years. I did other things. But I was researching history because, first of all, I did an article for Gerald Celente of Trends Magazine, and it was called "Historical Cycles, Are We Doomed to Repeat the Past?" And I have a video out based on the article as well. But from my study of history, I could see that, look, by now everybody can see it. We're on the downtrend of empire. It's ending for us, folks. What's going to happen when, you know, bread reaches $25 a loaf? What's going to happen when your pension check doesn't come in? Because if you think the government's got your pension money in a lockbox somewhere, then I've got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. There is no pension money. They already spent it 40 years ago. We're running on fumes in terms of pensions. So what's going to happen if all that collapses? No pension, no health care system, no Medicaid, no and the food prices and the currency devalues to nothing so that you can wallpaper your bedroom with $10 bills. How do you survive that? So that's when I began researching the book. And what I discovered was that in the past, before the government came in, and specifically before the policies of Roosevelt, people survived by forming communities. And after I started writing this book, I came across the term neo-tribalism, which describes perfectly my own journey into discovering this, you know, what our ancestors did to survive. And neo-tribalism is a term coined by a sociologist, Miguel Maffesoli, who said that after postmodernism declined, the societies would embrace nostalgia and look to the distant past for guidance. And so I looked to the distant past for guidance, and I discovered what our ancestors did was form communities, all kinds of communities. They formed lodges, friendly societies, mutual aid communities. They worked together and they pooled their money. Now, this is before welfare, before Medicaid. So that's what they did. So I started writing the book to see how can we create modern equivalents to these friendly societies, these mutual aid groups, and how can we morph them into, supplying different types of services. For example, when you were talking earlier today on the show about the price of groceries, I know myself, I go to the grocery store every 3 days. I'm not kidding, Rose. Every 3 days, the prices go up. Well, one possible solution is to form a buying group. If I were to pool my $600 a month with 5 other people who also pay $600 a month for groceries, now we got $3,000, and we get a wholesaler's license, and we buy our groceries for a wholesale cost. Or we go to a bulk buying location, and we buy everything all at once. We'll save 30, 40, 50% on our grocery bill simply by forming a small group, which is called a buying group. And there's no heavy paperwork or incorporation papers, nothing like that you need to do. It's a simple agreement, and I will have examples of all these agreements in the book in the download so that everything is done for you, And you just find 5 people, go to your neighbors, go to your family members. How much are you paying on groceries? Well, what if we all go once a month, we buy a whole month's worth of groceries at the same time from the wholesaler, and it'll cost you half of what you're paying now. Would you agree to that? And if they do, then that's it. That's all you need to do. So that's a form of community.
Well, that's an excellent idea.
Sure. And somebody else suggested, I was talking to somebody else about this, and they said, well, then you can take it to the next level and incorporate as a nonprofit and organize a food co-op and sell groceries in the parking lot at the farmer's fair once a month to everybody who's a member of your food co-op. You can scale these groups and communities to apply to a lot of different people and provide benefits to many, many people. And look, the thing is, you're saving money, you're surviving. And nowadays, when everybody is tight, if you had an extra $300 at the end of the month, I mean, it just makes practical sense, but we have to work together. When I was researching this, I came across lots of different articles that link a lack of community, a lack of belonging to community, to all the other scourges of our modern society: depression, loneliness, drug addiction, alcoholism, suicide, cancer, dementia, Alzheimer's. All of these illnesses and diseases have a direct cause in being alienated from the world. We're alienated. That's part of the programming, to alienate us from our families and our communities and our religions, and we're all separated. We are meant to be tribal people. We're meant to be part of a community of loving friends and family that talk to you and come and visit you, and you'll have dinner once a week together. This is part of the human condition, and when you're separated from that, you wither and you die. Not only is it important, and why I wrote the book, to learn how to form communities to survive the coming economic worldwide World War III collapse, even if the world doesn't come to an end, you still need community in order to live a long and healthy life.
That is excellent, and I wish we had time to hear more about your different programs, but unfortunately, like always, we've run out of time. And so how are they going to be able to access your book, and what is your book completed?
No, the book is still in process. I'm raising some funds on GoFundMe so I can finish the book. It's about a quarter. I've got 200 pages, which is about halfway done, but I need to hire a research assistant with this one. It's too much even for me. It's going to be like an encyclopedia, but on the other hand, it will provide you with everything you need, all the paperwork, how to conduct meetings, how to organize it, rules and bylaws and charters. And I'm going to include that all in the download package. Just fill in your name, print it out, bring it to the local office, boom, you're incorporated, off you go, and start forming communities, forming your own tribes. So the GoFundMe campaign is on GoFundMe, How to Create a Community. And if you just get an advance copy, it should be finished in September. That will help me to finish it, and I can take the next 2 months and get this out there.
Thank you so much, Stefan Verstappen, and we'll look forward to hearing more about the Complete Guide to Forming Communities, because I know it's a great undertaking to help everyone in this country and anyone else around the world, and I wish you much success with it, because you are a wealth of information. So thank you so much for being our very special guest today, Stefan Verstappen.
Thank you, Rose, for having me on, and all the best.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And our very special guest, Stefan Verstappen, has left the building, and this is going to be an exciting book, because it's going to have a wealth of information that's going to help you and your family and your loved ones survive, or your friends and neighbors, because we don't know exactly when or why or how or what is going to happen to us, because just overnight there's a flood, overnight there's a hurricane, overnight there's a tornado, and people are made homeless. Wildfires. There's more wildfires in this country and Europe and Israel since 2009 and currently than we've ever seen in the history, I believe, of our great nation and countries around the world. We need to be alert, and we need to pay attention. We need to do our homework and our research, and we need to prepare for any emergency, any type of emergency. So if you aren't proactive and you are going to just dismiss all that information, then you cannot complain when something happens, because you did not want to take action and prepare for any emergency, not just a natural disaster, but any emergency. That is our responsibility as human beings, as adults. We need to teach our children, our grandchildren, and the teachers in our public schools should be teaching the children on how to survive any type of emergency and what steps to take. And so on that note,